They call me Starlight because I only work when the stars are out. And welcome to Jock Lindsey's Hangar Bar. Just some real quick history. I'm going to be your tour guide as we go through the adventures of Niles and Niles of jokes and puns, so hang in there with me, okay? First things first, Jock Lindsey's Hangar Bar was actually founded in 1948 when Jock actually decided to come here with Dr. Henrietta Jones, a long-time, lifelong friend of his, that they went on many adventures on. It was actually, he was the air pirate that was Indiana Jones' best friend. In fact, he actually founded the Air Pirate Circus in 1914. Now, if any of you know the documentaries, you'll know that in the very first documentary of their adventures together, Dr. Jones and Jock Lindsey, he was wearing a shirt that looks exactly kind of like this jacket here, only his is going to be the regular shirt. That was the name of his stunt spectacular troupe, where he and fellow pilots learned how to be kind of the crop duster stunt spectaculars. Now, they got quite a reputation, and that's actually how he got inducted into the Adventurers Club and the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. It's a very tight-knit group of explorers and adventurers across the globe that have quite a history with Disney. If you ever get bored, look it up or come talk to me. It's really fun. But as I mentioned, in 1948, Jock came through here looking for the Fountain of Youth based on the Notebook by Ponce de Leon. He and Indiana Jones were going to every spring they had here in Florida, and while they found out about the most magical springs on Earth, it wasn't mystical, unfortunately. But Jock fell in love with it, so he decided to retire here and open the hangar. Now, that was actually going to be just the hangar itself, air tours and fishing expeditions based on his love of both sea and air adventures. But a lot of his friends found out that he had opened this little hole in the wall, and they started coming and eating him out of house and home. So in 1955, he converted it to the hangar bar you see around you, and it's been pretty much the same ever since in order to honor his spirit. Now, a bunch of adventurers came and found a hole in the wall that now served food. So they started eating and drinking, and when they started eating and drinking, they lose track of their tabs. And what do they pay with? Well, their artifacts, of course. Now, unfortunately, as you see by the sign by the bar, we do not take artifacts as payment anymore. We actually have to consider stopping that practice, because last time Dr. Jones came through, he was very upset with how many things belong in a museum. So we had to strip a lot of them away, but we kept the ones that are important to us. So let's go show them. Come on with me. Hi, Morel. I'm going to tuck you in right here, because this is actually the best spot to see everything and anything. In fact, my favorite spot, because Jock Lindsey actually not only worked here, but he lived here. And that loft right over there is where he actually spent most of his time. It's actually where some of my favorite artifacts live. In fact, if you're an Adventurers Club fan, right behind Reggie's terrarium is Babylonia, who was the patron saint and goddess of the Adventurers Club. Now, we haven't moved her from her spot, but she's giving us a bit of a silent treatment because we don't have her front and center. Reggie obviously lives upstairs, but as you can see, his cage is propped open because he loves to come and say hi. I'm gonna give you a little secret. We're actually technically on Reggie the 4th because, well, some of them say a little bit too much than hi. So we actually hope that if you feel a little slithering around your ankle, you just grow a little backbone and not make us go into Reggie the 5th. But my actually favorite Indiana Jones reference is going to be right up here on that top shelf right here in the map room where Jock and Lindsey spent many a day planning their adventures, is the Cha-Cha Puya fertility idol. That's from the very first documentary. That's the little gold man that was there last time Indy dropped the ball. Another one is behind the bar. Let's just swing around. Behind the bar there are the Krita voodoo dolls. Those we stole from a Maharaja in India so that Indy would be less stiff at parties. On the shelf just below it, above the Reggie's Revenge, which is our signature cocktail, is a little shamrock lighter. That is given to Dr. Indiana Jones from Dr. Elsa Schneider. She ended up being a little more, how do you say it? I've lost my trail. Hang on. She ended up being a little more Nazi in her affiliations, but don't worry, she didn't take that to the bar. I did save Dr. Jones at one point where things got a little hot under a collar in the castle in Germany. Now, behind the register on the far right is a familiar replica. It's not the actual thing, because the actual thing is almost 15 feet tall, and that is the gong from Club Obi-Wan in Shanghai. Now, they offered to let us have the actual gongs, but considering the damage it did to its last club, we politely declined. Now, I'm not going to take you over there because it's a bit of a tight squeeze and we don't know each other that well enough. But over there in the Lost and Found is quite a treasure trove of actual treasures. A lot of our explorers came through and they have lockers there where they kept a lot of their more portable artifacts. And in the jewelry drawer are two things of note. The first is a medallion that looks fairly familiar. It's actually the medallion that was owned by Marion Ravenswood, also known as the headpiece to the Staff of Ra. Just behind it is a necklace that was owned by an Atlantean that I would not suggest putting on. Some other things that are really fun is if you actually look around, there are relics from all of the different documentaries, as we call them. My favorite is all the way up in Jock's loft is Cairo from the very first documentary. Just behind the ice machine is Pankot from the second one, and right over here on the bookshelf is Iskardun from the third one. That one a lot of people don't get, but that's actually where we lost Marcus Brody, so he doesn't like talking about it. Now, Jock was a very creative man, but he wasn't very inventive. He actually was very good at using what he had around him to create what he needed, as opposed to coming up with new things. And that is not any more apparent than the actual bar itself. As you can see, the bar is Jock's old engine work table. A lot of those engine parts are still hanging above, and his tools are still in the bar themselves. The ice machine he did create, but he's not very efficient. It creates the ice spheres for our Hail Marty drink. However, it creates one every about 30 minutes, so it's not very fast. But if you ever sit at that table, you'll hear a little gurgling, and that's just yet another ice cube popping out. Same with the actual area by the ice cube display. That is the hull of the Douglas C-47 that actually was Jock's plane OBCPO. And there's a couple call signs in there that are even funnier. I saw you giggle. That are even funnier. The top one is going to be RTOD2. But the one that's actually beneath it is my particular favorite. That is RXE. Now that is Rex himself, the original pilot of Star Wars. Right? Not a lot of people know that one. He got ousted by C-3PO. Right over here, once again, we are in Florida, so of course the buildings aren't always the greatest, especially if you're made in wood. And this is the diving bell that Jock used in Bermuda to try and find Flight 19. Now, Flight 19 was, of course, the very first famous flight to go disappearing to the Bermuda Triangle. Now, we've never found his friends, but he did find a love for diving. And his diving suit is actually right above it. We'll get a better look on it as we head outside. Follow me. Now, this is one of the greatest ones in that a lot of Jock's friends were actually adventurers and explorers, and we're actually a sister location to the Jungle Cruise Navigation Company. They're also an adventurers SCA outpost, and so Jock went on many cruises like them in the jungle, and he decided to once again case, copy, and steal everything. So he decided to case this joint and took a Jungle Cruise boat with him when he decided to come open up his fishing expeditions here. Now, we've dry docked and turned it into a seating area, and we've hooked it up to an engineering lighting system that Jock invented himself. Now, I mentioned inventive, creative, but not very good. So if it flares, just let us know. We'll apply a little elbow grease. We can't do it often. Our doctors get mad at us. But behind you is actually a little bit more of the relics of the original bar when it opened back in 1955. If you look above the bar, there is a chalkboard that has some of our original menu items. Now, food safety says we can't serve any of those anymore, but I do think that pickled scorpion or balut vinegar might make their way back to the menu. In hopes that those come back, we actually do have some of those ingredients right there above the bar. But my absolute favorite one is going to come right over here. Follow me. We're going to park right behind you. We're going to talk about that box. Now, right there to the left of the bar, to the right of the point of sale system, is one of my favorite artifacts, and that's not because it's a long story or because it's a tooth. That is because that is Jock's very last mission. That is the souvenir he was given as a thank you gift when he went to answer an SOS call from some scientists that were living and working on an island that also happens to be a failed theme park. Now, one day things went a little sideways and he had to go rescue them, and they gave him this tooth as a thank you. Inside there is a note that says, "Thanks for getting us off the island, SS." Now, I'm not in the Hollywood Insider, but I was told that story and it felt very Spielberg-y to me. But don't count me, I'm not Steven. We're allowed to keep this tooth because we promised, under pain of penalty of death and slightly uncomfortable things, to never open the box and let anyone test on it. It was explained to me one time, but I stopped listening. Something about frogs. I don't know. It was all Jurassic to me. Now, I'm going to take you one last place. Come on out with me. When this place opened, it was actually the very first airfield that Disney Springs had ever actually had, and because of that, it had its very own air traffic controller. So we constantly see and talk to a bunch of their pilots and explorers extraordinaire, some of which you don't know that we are not even an active airfield anymore. But we do love frequent flyers, and we like to mark them that they're frequent. And by doing so, hello everyone.
Hello, welcome back to you.
Thank you.
Hold down the fort for you.
By doing so, we mark our frequent flyers with their own training pin. And they only get that here after listening to me or being first-time or frequent flyers. In fact, we have some frequent flyers who have already earned their wings. So if you ever want to be a part of our club, just come on down and ask for a tour, okay?